So, you know,
Wait a second. Yeah, someone trolled the victim's family is discussing. This person said, Granny was just on a panel I've never heard of, feeding him lies, saying she's done nothing wrong. They're coming after her because she lives in Pennsylvania. Well, we already know she's an idiot. I'm sorry. This is the same woman. Again, I do take this personal. This is the same woman that said at the time, my minor child at the time needed Vagisil for being SA'd. Accused me of abusing my child, accused my husband of sexually assaulting my child.
oh, and
So as somebody,
of you also assaulting your child.
yes, it's like I said. She said that I punched my daughter in the face, and like I said that my husband essayed my child, and then spoke on my minor child and said she needed Vagisil for being essayed. So all of you that are backing GW, that's the trash you're backing. Okay.
I also want to just say that while I understand like the technicality of like suing someone because they're in the same state or whatever as another person,
Mm-hmm.
it also should be stated that the defendant, one of them, is a prominent one, right, in terms of reporting the news about this particular case that's gone on for about a year now, and basically was
Right.
one of the prime people going at the parent of the missing child. So it would be kind of stupid to not sue that person, like as one of the prominent members. Like, why wouldn't you go after that person too? You know what I mean? Like, it
Right.
just seems to me like obvious. Like, of course you're going to get sued. You went after the father of a missing child, like 70 times or something. Some huge
Mm-hmm.
amount, and that's not even counting other people's panels. That's just counting your own streams. So of course it's not just because you live in Pennsylvania. It's because you're one of the prime people who was on the attack and slandering and promoting false information and calling people pedos and stuff like that. Which I've heard that was an accusation that was
It
being
is.
leveled
It's
at
in.
Seth.
Listen. It's in the
Yeah,
complaint.
and that while calling someone a pedo is not necessarily like a crime in and of itself, it can put people in danger if you have a platform and you're promoting those narratives about someone. It can put them in danger if they're a public figure.
Again,
So,
because you are signaling to your audience, you're inciting hate against people. And
hmm
let me just say this again. People that say freedom of speech, I'm all for freedom of speech, but do not have freedom of consequences. So to see her now coming back and acting like she hasn't said or done anything wrong is crap. I saw the exhibits, okay? Everything that they have in the complaints, everything that they allege in the complaint, you see they're numbered. They have the facts to back that up. They have the video or the screenshots to back it up. They can't just put something in this that's not true. They have to prove that, and they
right,
have
they,
that
they
in their
need to show.
exhibits.
Right, they
Yes.
need to show some proof. Also, a good point was made before. Like the broken clock is right twice a day.
Hmm.
Well, Laura actually made this point. I was listening to her stream earlier on this, and she said, the judge doesn't have to look at the whole document to sign off on it. He just has to look at like the preliminary, like does your concern kind of meet all these standards,
Right.
and then if so, then we proceed to court, and then in court, that all gets hashed out and discussed, and see if any of that stuff is valid or not. So he doesn't have to read through the whole document. That makes sense to me.
Yes, and I'll tell you this right now. People can disagree with me if they want to, but when you have as plaintiffs making these, saying this and asking for this relief, asking for this injunction, and you've got, the parent of a missing child on there, that's going to carry some weight. I'm sorry, but it is.
Oh yes, because here's the thing, right? When I, had my own court case, basically people were telling me like, people aren't going to care about like, if someone spread your revenge porn around, they're not going to care about you being recorded illegally and played on a live stream. They're not going to care about this and that. They're not going to care about hate bonding or your channel going down. They're not going to care about any of that stuff. All they're going to care about is the simple, like, you have to think in real world terms here. Okay,
Right.
don't think YouTube, think real world. All right, in the real world there are couples, right, that
Hmm.
they get divorced or they have like abuse problems or something like that, and in a case where someone seeks some kind of relief, some kind of protection, the judge will err on the side of caution
Yes.
and relieve the quote unquote victim of abuse, right? Because to them they see it as a shield. It's not used as a sword, it's used as a shield, right, to
Right.
protect the victim. In this case it's very similar. What is happening here is that it's the victim of slander of a campaign that's meant to target and harass him and spread misinformation about the case and his child, and he is the victim of his child was
Well, real quick,
has
James.
gone missing.
Wait,
So
real quick. This is an
the
active
judge is going to
case.
see that, right? So right, exactly. So an active case. So the judge is going to see that and be like, okay, so you're the father of a missing child. Obviously, we're going to protect you as best as we can, right?
Right.
And so they're going to err on the side of caution and protect that individual. You can't think about, but Seth said this on a stream one time about whatever. Like, that doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that how is the court going to protect the people? How is it going to protect the quote unquote victim in this situation?
Yes, and
So
this is the thing, okay? Is I think people need to, well, wait, real quick. Duty Run. Okay, again, people, these people need to quit focusing on what everybody on YouTube is telling them this is going to go nowhere and get in the real fucking world here. I'm telling you, this is an active case with a child missing, okay? And
right.
these allegations are very serious. They're saying this is interfering with this. This is interfering with finding a missing child. This is slandering and putting at risk and putting in danger, a parent of a missing child. If you don't think the courts are going to look at that and take that serious, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. I mean, this is serious.
Yes, he's
I'm
the
going to read a couple
father.
of things from
He's
this.
the father of a missing child. That will be considered above all else in court by a judge. The judge is not going to care about, his rat tail haircut or like what he said on a live stream that one time. Like that's not what anything the judge is going to give a shit about.
Right. Well, let me read a couple of things, and then I'm going to, because some of the things that they're accusing GW of, one of them was child endangerment. I'm not kidding. That's one of the things that they are trying to list out that they're saying she's guilty of. They're endangering the welfare of a child by their actions. So again, this is serious stuff that they're alleging here. But I'm going to read a couple of these from the actual complaint. Okay. I want to see if anybody finds anything familiar about what I'm going to read. Okay. It says, furthermore, I did not consent to having calls to my office broadcast on social media, which demonstrates the extent to which these, quote, creators are willing to go. Additionally, I experienced a particularly troubling incident when Granny's Watching stated during a live stream that she was driving to Media, Pennsylvania with the intent to visit my office. This was perceived as a threatening action. However, following a brief phone call between Granny's Watching and the undersigned, she subsequently decided to return home. Now, when I read that, the first thing I thought about was that picture she took in front of Kim and Crafton's courthouse to try to intimidate them. That's the very fucking first thing I thought about. She has a history of pulling this shit, and it's all over social media because that's how they've made their money on here, right? With their tragedy pimping and lining their pockets off a case of a missing child. Um, but yeah, there's a precedence here with her. There's actually also a precedence with her with child endangerment
A
too.
pattern of behavior,
Yes, exactly.
which is what
Um,
the Rico case is trying to establish, is it not?
Yes, exactly. Here we go with the inciting her audience. It says, I'll just say instead of her name, but Granny's Watching mocks Mr. Rogers for stating, "I just want a divorce so I can start again," turning this into an opportunity to paint him as someone dismissive of his responsibilities. She sarcastically thanks him for, quote, being so nice during the divorce, encouraging her audience to view him as deceitful. And then they say that they've attached a copy, that's Exhibit 52, to back this up. This distortion of Mr. Rogers' statements reflects the broader strategy of the enterprise, with GW and I guess that other lady, BBQ, coordinating efforts to undermine victims' credibility through mockery, manipulation, and defamation as tools of harassment.
Mm-hmm.
Granny's Watching's persistent sarcasm goes beyond mere commentary. It is a tactic used to diminish Mr. Rogers' character and portray him as untrustworthy, echoing the sarcastic attacks frequently employed by BBQ and other members of the enterprise, where sarcasm is weaponized to belittle and the audience is encouraged to join in the public degradation. Quote, "Oh, he's such a good guy. Thank you for being so nice during the divorce," mocks Mr. Rogers' efforts to present himself as responsible, twisting his words to imply hypocrisy. The use of sarcasm and ridicule aligns with the enterprise's broader strategy of public character assassination. Granny's Watching's mocking tone not only serves to discredit Rogers, but also to mobilize her followers to further participate in this coordinated defamation. And that's what we've seen time and time again with her. I've said this for years now that she signals to her audience and to try to incite hate. She does it based off of lies, you
That's
know?
literally been the modus operandi since the beginning of their channel.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
literally been since way back since Natasha Cooper days. It's been the same exact process every time of defamation of character, of undermining them as trustworthy in their community, to degrade them, to make them lose support.
Well, she helped to try to paint me out as a child abuser,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yep,
know?
and through any
And
means
like I
that
said, she
necessary,
lied on my stuff.
doxing, threatening, blackmail, anything, even breaking the law, like recording phone calls and playing them live, revenge porn, humiliation, all kinds of tactics are used in order to defeat, their enemy.
Right. So now that we know that team hasn't been looking for Sebastian, instead has been looking for a producer to pick up a show, I will say Seth is a huge piece of shit, in my opinion. I mean, you're welcome to your opinion. I'm telling you from reading this paperwork, and again, I guess I have I'm not gonna say unique point of view, but I'm not huge fans of the people that are the plaintiffs in this. You know what I mean? I'm not. Some of them, at least, create different creators on here. I'm not the biggest fan of. But as somebody that has gone through, and I had at the time an open case and had her people that were threatening to call CPS on me, call the police on me, have her attack my minor child, have her spread, saying that my child was SA'd. My child wasn't SA'd, but that's beside the point. Saying that my child needed Vagisil for being SA'd. I don't think people realize just how fucking disgusting that is to say that and to say it publicly. Saying I hit my child and, my husband, SA'd my daughter. And she does this and she's signaling to her audience to pick up, off of her hate speech and to continue on with attacks like that. I mean, so none of this really surprises me. None of this surprises me what's
By
listed.
the way, I would just want to say that I'm allowed to give my opinion on things. The only thing I can't do is initiate contact with certain people,
Right.
and which I have not done. So don't anybody try to lecture me on the restraining order or anything like that.
Yeah, and I want to do this, Chad. I'd appreciate if we don't speak, like you said, I wouldn't speak on the parents in chat. That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, maybe constrain this to what the actual topic is about, and not like try to veer off course, because we're not here to go at the parents of a missing child.
Right.
That would be kind of run counter to our whole point, right?
Exactly. Well, listen to this. Okay, so this is number 98 in the complaint. Said Granny's watching distorts the legal context of Mr. Rogers' custody and divorce issues by falsely implying that he was deemed, quote, borderline abusive by the courts, a deliberate misrepresentation that aligns with BBQ's similar tactics of distorting legal proceedings to mislead the public and discredit plaintiffs, illustrating how the enterprise manipulates legal narratives to harm their targets. Granny's watching falsely claims, quote, Mr. Rogers states that the courts, well, that's basically the same thing. It's just repeating it. And they're just backing that up. But you go ahead and talk for a second because I'm going to pull this up because I want to read some of the, like with the wiretapping and the child endangerment, why they're saying that,
Okay.
that, they meet the criteria of that. So give me just a second.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nikki's right. This is a public issue. And I'm within my rights to join this discussion. The lawsuit names about 50 other people, so it's a very generalized topic to discuss. So I do want to.
Unlike what GW also instructed everybody in this community, I'm not a third party to that, and I can voice my fucking opinion if I want to about her and about my history with her. And I will.
People really, they need to understand when it comes to restraining orders, they're supposed to just kind of protect the person, not from their feelings being hurt, but from like actual harm, coming to them. So just realize what the law is really for. So I do want to make an opinion known. Opinion, you can look up that word, about this this fundraiser I saw. It's worded terribly.
Yes,
because,
it is.
Yeah, so yeah, I maybe you could show it.
I'd have to upload it. I could read from it. But I'm still trying to pull this up real quick.
Yeah, the thing about the fundraiser, why it's badly worded, is because, for one thing, it stated that the commentary that was given, right, was not favorable, right, in terms of this true crime case. What does that mean exactly? That leaves open a lot of interpretation, into that statement. And you're putting this on a fundraiser that could and probably will be entered into court, saying it's not favorable in what way? Towards the plaintiff? Like, if that's the case, and you're basically putting that on something you're now earning money from, which, that could now further serve as evidence. It's also, talking about lawsuits can be costly, whereas, the judge hasn't even signed off on this thing yet, but they're implying there's going to be costs, but we don't know that for a fact because it's basically just a cease and desist letter that they received, so there's really no costs yet, is my point. Like, they're raising funds for nothing, so if it would be one thing if they got like a quote or a bill or something. It's like, this is how much it's going to cost. They have no idea how much it's going to cost for anything,
Right.
So yeah, it's just, if you read through that, it's just awful how it's also what's interesting about the fundraiser is that in the text, Seth's name is not stated. I wonder why that is.
Let's see here. So it says their names, but I'll just refer to Granny's Watching and BBQ engage in a continuous scheme of defamation and harassment, further supporting the Rico claim. And then it lists these out. Count 1, defamation, harassment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress against, and it says, I guess it's Bullhorn Betty. Okay. And that's what they're accusing them of. Count 2, cyber stalking and cyber harassment against Bullhorn Betty. Count 3, civil conspiracy and coordinated defamation. And it cites the law against this, the Pennsylvania law against this. Count 4, prospective business relations. Restatement second of torts. Then we have violation of the Pennsylvania Corrupt Organizations Act and Racketeer Influenced in Corrupt Organizations RICO Act. Conspiracy to violate the Pennsylvania Corrupt Organizations Act and RICO Act. Defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress against Brittany, BJ. Harassment and cyber harassment against Brittany. Interference with prospective business relations and economic damages. Violation of the Pennsylvania Corrupt Organizations Act and RICO Act, I guess, against, involving Brittany. Conspiracy to violate the Pennsylvania RICO Act. I'm trying to scroll down. Interference with employment relations, and this has to do with the father of the missing child. Cyber harassment, obstruction of justice, and tampering with witnesses or informants. That's a pretty heavy one right there, I would say. Endangering the welfare of a child. And I'll go into detail about this. It says plaintiff Seth Rogers repeats and incorporates by reference all preceding paragraphs as though fully set forth herein. By spreading false allegations and obstructing efforts to search for Sebastian, defendants BBQ and GW endangered the welfare of a child. Their conduct interfered with legitimate efforts to locate the missing boy and deviated from acceptable standards, thus exasperating the risks to Sebastian's safety and well-being. Their malicious behavior, including undermining the search efforts and supporting a coordinated campaign to discredit Rogers, constituted willful neglect that contributed to the child's continued risk. I'm sorry, but that's pretty serious right there. I would say. Sorry, that's my cat.
Yeah, and that will be up for the plaintiffs to prove in court.
Right.
This is not anything that's up for debate. I see people like trying to like debate the issues about this case, and it's like, well, this didn't happen. Well, that's not for you to say.
Right.
That's up for a judge to decide.
Right. They're saying intimidation of a witness or victim. Let's see, obstruction of justice, another one, criminal conspiracy, retaliation against a witness or victim. Defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress against, and then let's see, I don't know if I want to read her name out, but they named somebody in that. But yeah, harassment, cyber harassment, stalking. I mean, there's tons of these that they have listed out.
Yeah, and last I checked, stalking was a crime. Which I heard that I've heard that watching a live stream can be considered stalking. So if that's the case, then Seth is one of the most stalked men on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, listen to this one. It says cyber harassment of a child. Defendants GW and BBQ, along with other online personalities, engaged in cyber harassment directed at those involved in the search for Sebastian, a vulnerable 15-year-old boy. Their coordinated attack sought to defame and intimidate individuals involved in the search, thereby distracting from efforts to find the missing child and endangering his safety. The malicious spread of misinformation, and threats against those working to locate Sebastian Rogers directly endangered the child's welfare and interfered with the legitimate efforts to bring him home safely. That's pretty serious. And again, we're talking about a case, an active case, not just involving a child, but a vulnerable child, a child with autism.
Yes. And if it can be proven in court in front of a judge that they had something to do with halting efforts to or misdirecting or misleading people toward down a different path that was not towards actually helping find the child, in whatever way they want to argue it. A lot of this stuff is up for interpretation, right? So they could show a lot of different kinds of evidence. It could be anything from like comments being made to clips of streams, lots of different things, and that will be up for them to kind of argue in court. And if the judge admits it, well, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, I'm telling you right fucking now, people that are not taking this serious, they better think twice about this, because you have an active case with a missing child, and if you're interfering in any way with that, if people are scared to help because they're afraid they'll be targeted, if they're afraid that they'll be harassed,
or what about what wasn't someone like recorded?
Yes.
And then like their audio was played. Couldn't that be considered somehow trying to obstruct some kind of justice, or something like that?
They mentioned that in this complaint, and also with the, I believe, wiretapping.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
Which is also that's part of the the illegal acts that would qualify under RICO, right? If even that was admitted in court and a judge was like, oh yes, that occurred, well, then the RICO claim would be sound.
And just real quick to clarify on this comment that you made, there's more filings coming. Okay, there's like 50 people named in this. So, and for the people saying this isn't federal yet, yeah, it will be. So, see, it's not federal yet. Nick said they're filing in 10 states and they're going to try to bundle them together.
I've been getting comments that they were federal. I don't know for sure myself, but they're saying some people. This is just a rumor. Someone's saying that apparently feds are involved in this already.
And they could be. They
Yeah,
could be,
we don't know.
even though
We don't know for sure. It's possible since it does involve a missing child on a national level. Perhaps feds are already getting involved with this. Also, it's important to note that establishing a pattern of behavior, like if, for example, if someone wiretapped before, in the past, and then played that on a live stream, that could add to the pattern of behavior. Just for the sake of argument.
I don't know why I can't click on these comments now.
If that happened to someone else,
Sorry. Getting donations for bashing these people can be considered a pattern of corrupt. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. You're just delayed, I think. Yeah, I can hear you fine. I'm good. You're the delayed one. You're fine.
Again, James, are you trying to say it? Never mind.
I agree, Scotty. Yes, yes. Sorry, go on.
A pattern of corrupt and illegal behaviors.
Oh, free side, you triggered, buddy?
I might have to go back.
You may come back because you're roboting right now.
Okay.
Yeah, just come back.
Okay.
Leave and come back. Yeah, I agree, though. Getting donations for bashing people can be considered a pattern of corrupt and illegal behaviors. Yeah, especially if there's a lot of defamation involved in the bashing, and there's a regularity to getting memberships, super chats, that kind of stuff. That can count toward as the pattern of behavior of a continual. There was a way that it was stated that I thought was well stated. I made a post about it earlier today. So the part of this, right, when it comes to one of the crimes being committed, the practices, right, fraudulent activity in the racket, as it were, would be under deception, right? So those who don't understand what deception is the act of convincing one or many recipients, meaning maybe like a whole community of people, of untrue information. The person creating the deception knows it to be false, while the receiver of the message has a tendency to believe it. Meaning if they ever intentionally put forth a false narrative and knew it was false, they can get in trouble for that. It is often done for personal gain or advantage, meaning if they got donations or memberships or whatever. Deception can involve dissimulation, propaganda, right? And sleight of hand, as well as distraction, camouflage, or concealment. There's a lot of different avenues that deception kind of falls under, right? A lot of categories here. It's not that simple. And it could be argued, in court under very, very loosely how this stuff could aid in their case, in the plaintiff's case against the defendant. So I would say, yes, you should probably worry because I think that there's a lot that can be proven here, at least on in an argumentative sense. Let's see here. LE would go after them, not private citizens. They are not LE or licensed investigator. You can't obstruct an investigation by a private party that isn't even law enforcement. No, but I mean I think we mean like the general investigation of trying to find the child, not like obstructing their specific investigation, like just basically, how they say that true crime creators, they often get in the way of police doing their job, because a lot of times they're trying to get out information to help find the child, right? Well, if there's true crime creators that are putting out false information, like, oh, he was last seen here, that can obstruct the investigation in general, right? Because it will basically take attention off of where it needs to be.
Is it better now?
Yes.
I did want to bring up a point before I forget it, that I've also seen mentioned, and I've not looked it up for myself yet, but this case, the boy is missing. It's Tennessee, that's where I live, and that apparently there has been a law passed that has to do with the raising of funds. It has something to do with, and I've seen several comments online about maybe somebody else knows what I'm talking about, but there's people that are saying that this could violate this law that was actually passed, fairly recently from what I've read, about, the way that you raise money for, some of these, and that the way that they're doing these GoFundMe's and this, accepting donation, doing all that, it also interferes with that. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? I might have saved it, but let me look and see if I saved it. I've seen.
I think it's funny. Someone went live getting triggered over me for some reason, even though I'm not the one who timed them out earlier. Yeah. Because they got timed out by someone else in the chat. And someone asked, why did they get timed out? And I said, because they're annoying. I was just giving an explanation. I didn't do it. Right. Someone else timed them out. But I think that's pretty good reason, pretty good justification. They're annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Sorry, I'm looking through my screenshots to see if I grabbed this about the Tennessee law. I saved quite a bit of things. I'm just looking. Let's see.
Yeah, that's true, Scotty.
What did Scotty say? Okay, let's say I'm a big-time drug dealer. I give product to Lindsay. Thank you. I give product to Lindsay to sell for me. Then she gives it to Jamie to sell for her. We could all be charged. Well, look at the Matthew Perry case and the charges that have come out of that. Where they're saying, the person, some of the people arrested in that, they're saying we never actually met. They hadn't even ever met Matthew Perry. But guess what? That's where the product came from, and so they can be charged. And everybody in that line of succession can be charged.
I think that's very interesting. You brought up the Matthew Perry incident because that's interesting. Yeah. Did they get charged with RICO? The doctors that helped?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that, but I do know, like I said, that one of the defenses for one of these people that supplied drugs was that they'd never met him, and it doesn't matter. Their actions contributed to that death. It was just it's in that link, that chain, that from going to this person that then supplied it. That's why you have, like Scotty said, a middleman. I mean, it happens all the time. It's still an ongoing investigation. You're talking about the Matthew Perry thing, Sarah?
Right.
I'd be very worried, especially anyone inciting hate with misinformation. An attorney that got Trump off his impeachment charge might just know his way around that subject. Yes, and I mentioned that earlier, that the people involved, that like the attorneys involved in this, are not just some, nothing to sneeze at. And I would say that they probably know more than, some dumb fucks on YouTube. And I think it's a grave mistake to brush this off as being nothing.